Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are looking at some more custom cards from the custom Dawnguard expansion made by Hazash, and today we're looking at items. So these will be your weapons, your equip cards, the things that you give to your units to make the units bigger, bulkier, stronger, and most importantly, cooler. So without further ado, let's get on with this. And one thing I will mention is that this is a re-upload of the original entry. So if you've already seen these by looking through them on Reddit, you might not have seen the changes, and as you can see here, only 2 people have viewed this new version. So make sure to give this have a little look at, see what difference the cards have, and just give a little review for yourself. So we're going to start off with Parzax, a free cost item which gives a unit charge and +1/+1. However, your opponent gains health equal to the card's power. And as we can see, this here, it's a very bold item to make, because giving a creature charge can be very threatening, which is it's the reason why your opponent gaining health equal to the wielder's power is what I do believe as well very much makes this card a lot more balanced. Because, yeah, like I said, charge is a scary keyword to give to a unit. But having your opponent gain enough health that they could easily take a hit from it very much tones down that fear and that worry, in my opinion at least. It's obviously good for decks like Pilfer and Slay, and even if you're just trying to get rid of a card or drain, it's got plenty of different ways that it can help out really well in the deck, and just that keyword alone item is something I think it's nice to see in the game. As you can tell, the difference to this card isn't that big, it's just the name and the artwork. And the reason for this is because Runeaxe was kind of a tame and just a casual idea, but Parzax links more in with the Dawnguard DLC because it relates to a bit of a little gag that happens when you join the Dawnguard faction at the very beginning of the DLC. And the rookie who starts at the same time as you, Agmir, he mentions that his go-to weapon is his Parzax, which, realistically, when you come up against a higher vampire lord, isn't going to do much. But because it's like, a bit of a meme line, it's always good to make a weapon that's actually going to be quite viable in the end of the day. So yeah, a very cool card, a very nice idea, and yeah, well done Hazash, you've made a charge item that's very balanced in my opinion. But obviously if you guys disagree, let me know in the comments, preferably in a nice and polite way of course. Anyway, now we're going to move on to the Imperial Helm. A 6-cost item which gives your creature 1 health, and when you equip it, it will summon Imperial Grunts equal to the wielder's health. Now, this is an interesting one, because if your creature will then have 7 health or more, you will just swarm your entire board. But the thing is, that requires a very kind of like setup board, and won't usually happen. And even if it does, like, they're all 1/1s, unless you have Divine Fervors and Training Grounds down, stuff like that. And realistically, you've got to take into consideration that this will have different effects depending on what's on your board, depending on what you've got. And it's very much a nice card for, as they've mentioned, a recovery tool for token decks. And I think that it's a very cool like gimmick as well, because there's no real item that kind of just does this swarming mechanic, and the fact that it's a 6-cost item as well, I think makes it outstandingly balanced for something that could potentially be giving you 7 units, could potentially be giving you just 1 or 2. I mean, if your entire board's full, obviously, this is just a 6-cost +0 +1. But, no, I do really like the idea of this. I think it's definitely something that helps those token swarm decks just really get up there and have different kind of versatility. Right, next we have the Dwarf Crossbow, a 5-cost item which gives a creature +2 power, and when it slays a creature, it will summon a spider worker. Now, the reason why I like this having a slay ability is because it means if you have Brotherhood Sanctuary down, the Slay goes off twice, which means you'll be getting 2 Spider Workers instead, and, you know, so on with how many more Sanctuaries you got. Spider Workers, in case you don't know, are 2-cost 0/1s, which are Dwemer cards, obviously, and when summoned, they draw a card, or you draw a card. So it's very much a cool card for just giving a creature +2 power, slay, draw a card, and get a nice little token. Meaning that if you're playing this in a Dwemer deck, you'll be able to kind of swarm the board easily with tokens, and if you've got just cards that synergize with it, you'll be able to have a bunch of little units to throw at your opponent. Or it's just extra things for, say, maybe a Telvanni deck to have targets to betray. There's a lot of uses with it, really. And, I mean, you get draw power as well, so where's it going to go wrong? The fact that it's also a Dwarven Crossbow obviously fits in well with the archetype. And the thematic analysis, obviously, because Serene Gerard gives you the formula to make a Dwarven Crossbow in the Dawnguard DLC. And the fact that crossbows are just in the DLC exclusively. So yeah, very nice card. Let's move on. Right, next we don't have an item, we have a person. We have the Alaki Persecutor, a 1-cost 0/1, and the first time it equips an item, it will battle an enemy creature. It's based off Kamatu, who is obviously not from the Dawnguard DLC, but it's a Skyrim character, and we're adding more to the archetype here, so, you know, deal with it. As mentioned here, it can be potentially very powerful if you equip him with a very strong item, perhaps one with Ward, perhaps one with Breakthrough, you know, using keywords to make this very scary. And the fact is, if you play him on one turn, just have him sit there, and then next turn you equip it, he'll not only have a battle, he'll also get an attack if he survives. And it is mentioned here that he only battles like the first time he equips an item. That said, if you can remove the items with something like Telekinesis or Dark Rebirth, you can make use of the battle effect once again. So there is ways of making him battle multiple times, but usually you'll just be having him battle once and then kind of throwing off your opponent a bit. A very cool card, a very nice card for the price as it is, and works really well for your Daggerfall Covenant or maybe your Battle Mage item decks. Next we have the Rune Shield, which is based off Auriel Shield, a 2-cost item with Ward, and the first time the wielder's Ward is broken, it gains power equal to the prevented damage. So this is something that really gets your opponent to think about what they're doing. And it also thematically works really well with how Auriel Shield works, having that kind of weird thrust thing. Don't know why I made an explosion noise, I am not a 6-year-old toddler. Anyway, yeah, so it makes people really kind of try and pop wards with their weaker cards, rather than them going, oh, whatever, I'll just throw my big card at it. And does mean that it might result to people having to trade more units than they wanted to, as well as kind of helping out specific archetypes like Bretons that work quite well with wards. And just having that synergy on a quite cheap item, I think this is something that would be an auto add to most kind of like Breton decks, item decks, possibly just any deck which just has a lot of guards in as well. Like, if you've got intelligence, you've got guards, you've got cards that you want to protect, this is a very good way of protecting your units and then making it a threat to your opponent. Because even though if you give this to your, like, say you're playing Invade, I know I said the word Invade, please don't boo me, even if you're playing Invade, and you've got a high level of Oblivion Gate, if your opponent even just pops the ward with, say, a unit with 3 power, that means whenever they're trying to hit your Oblivion Gate back down, it's going to be taking a bite out of your opponent's units, which is quite a cool little way of making it work. And finally, we have the Ethereum Forge, which is obviously a very cool side quest in the Dawnguard DLC, which basically involves you getting to make a fancy little Ethereum tool at the end of it. And this card is a 5-cost support with 3 uses, and whenever you activate, it will consume a creature in your graveyard to put an Ethereum tool in your hand with the consumed creature's power, health, and double its cost. So, say you go for something very cheap like a Nord Firebrand, you'll get a 0-cost tool with +1/+1. However, say you go for something which is like, I don't know, what do we show? Let's go Gerald Forager. We love Gerald Forager. We don't love Gerald Forager. It will then become a 4-cost +2/+2. So it's very much about using a lot of setup to utilize this. The best cards, obviously, to use with this would be 0-cost cards, because it then means that you'll still have a 0-cost item in hand with some very strong effects on it. As you can read here, Hazash had a lot of different ideas on how to make this card work, and he kind of settled with this because it's probably the most balanced way to get it to all go together. I personally do really like this. I think, as well as a neutral card, it does actually fit quite well into Dwemer decks, because if you have your, say, Spider Workers or your Constructors, or just anything, any of your 0-cost Dwemer cards, you could get your items to be pretty decent and for free with the 0 costs, as well as just giving you things to kind of just work with and give your creatures more bulky power. But, you know, I think very cool card, very interesting design as well, and of course we do love the Ethereum Forge, so gotta rate it highly. But yes, this is the set. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching me kind of go through it and give my thoughts and opinions on all of it. Obviously, if you want to have a look through it yourself, the link will be in the description below. And other than that, I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.